How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or Unknown Coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And I'm still trying to go ahead and tweak some of the video settings and everything. I'm fairly happy with the audio settings. I also had a little bit of issues with the editing of the last couple episodes, so hopefully everything turned out okay. I know one of the previous episodes didn't have music in the background. That's because the Premiere Pro wasn't really cooperating that well, and I think it's because I had originally had it on H.265 to do the encoding on OBS, and it didn't like that, so then I had to do some other tricks to go ahead and get to H.264. I think it kind of messed with things, so I'm tweaking things there. I'm also going to go ahead and get rid of like the formal introductions. They just take way too long, and people basically lose interest. So let's go ahead and just quickly chat what we're going to work on today. Today we're going to work on a little pop-up modal that appears whenever you go ahead and hover over a person's username. This also needs to go ahead and be updated a little bit later on to be able to hover over whenever someone reposts, and a couple other things like that. But unfortunately, because of time constraints on how much code we're going to go through just to get this little pop-up working, we're basically going to be going ahead and just focusing on getting the pop-up working and up and everything. We're going to come back through and work on the other logic a little bit later on. So let's go ahead and hop into our IDE. So basically what we're going to be doing is if we go ahead and scroll down here inside of our actual post component where the CSS is, we should have some sort of username here. So right here we have the post nickname with whether they're verified or whatnot, and this is kind of inside of the user information. This is what we were just hovering over right there. So what we want to go ahead and do is make it so this has like an underline, and it also pops up a little bit of a modal. That way we can go ahead and see some more information about the user. So what we're going to want to go ahead and do first is we want to go ahead and create a brand new file or a brand new component to go ahead and store all this information. So let's go ahead and hit this, and then let's go ahead and do our components, and I'm going to go ahead and call this post username / post username .tsx. Let's go ahead and make the post username .css just to be safe here, and let's go into here. So as always, we're going to go ahead and import React from React as we always do, and then we're going to go ahead and just bring in the CSS for the time being. So import /post username .css, and that way we just don't forget about it later on, because I typically forget about it. No bueno. Let's just go ahead and say export const, and we're going to go ahead and say post username, and this will be a react.fc. We'll set up a interface a little bit later on for some props, but for the time being, let's just go ahead and get something returned here. That way it doesn't complain at us. So that's going to be dead simple. We're basically just going to go ahead and take the post username container that we had before and go ahead and reuse it. So we're going to say return, and then we're going to go ahead and do one of these. We'll have a div, the class name equal to, and this will be post username container. And inside, we're going to have an on mouse over that we'll go ahead and set up later. This will be called open popup. And again, we'll deal with that later. And then on mouse leave will equal to close popup. And luckily, unlike the last episode, this one's going to be basically all self-contained, so we don't have to worry about doing any crazy global state or anything. We'll have a p tag with a class name equal to post username text, so this will be the actual username, and then in here we'll have an on click, which will equal to, and then this will be navigate to profile, because it's supposed to be able to navigate the profile whenever you actually click on it. And then here we'll have the username. Actually, I think it's nickname, so let's go ahead and change this to nickname. So we need to go ahead and do some setup to actually get all this working, because right now, obviously, all of this stuff isn't doing anything. So let's go ahead and get this stuff working. So first, we'll go ahead and say const and display modal. And we'll also say set display modal is equal to use state. And we'll go ahead and import use state. This will be a Boolean. And we'll go ahead and start this out as false. So we'll only show the modal if it's false or if it's true. And then we're going to go ahead and say const navigate equal to use navigate. And we know to go ahead and import this. So we'll go ahead and space CA and import this from React.dom. Now we'll say const. Now we'll go ahead and say const navigate to profile. So it's going to be pretty simple. This will be equal to an arrow function. And inside, we'll just go ahead and say navigate, and we're going to have backticks / curly brace, and we'll say author .username. We need to go ahead and set up this, which let's just do that right now. So we're going to pass this in as a prop from our post, which will be pretty simple. So just say interface post username props. And this is just going to have the author, which is a user. And let's go ahead and import user. That's easy enough. And let's go ahead and bring it in here. So this will be post username props. And then here, we'll go ahead and just grab the author. And we can grab the author.username. And this guy can now be author.nickname. And we might have to do a little bit of work here to fully get this working, just because of the fact that, well, one, I need to fix this. We need to make this reusable for some other stuff as well. So we might need to do a little bit of work to get that fully working later on in the next episode, but it is what it is. Whoops, I just typed up. Cool. Okay, so now we have our navigate to profile. Let's go ahead and do our open pop up like so. This will be equal to an async function. And now why is this async? It's because we're going to do some work later on, like I mentioned, to basically do logic to fetch, the author's following and followers list, because this pop-up modal needs some information about followers and following, unfortunately. And the only way to get that would be to actually make a request, because of the way that we set up our backend, it doesn't actually send this information with the user. So a little bit later on in the next episode, we'll work on doing that. Let's go ahead and set display modal to true here. All right. And next we'll say const close pop-up. And this one does not need to be async. This is just going to be an arrow function. And here, let's go ahead and set display modal to false. So pretty simple here. That's good to go. And now let's go ahead and just do the styling really quick. The style is very simple. We'll go ahead and bring some stuff in. So let's go ahead and go into the style. Here inside the style, just have a couple things. So first of all, post dash username dash container. So it's going to be a very simple container component. Width will just be fit content. The height will just be fit content. And this one is important. We're going to say position is going to be relative, because we're going to go ahead and use absolute value on the modal later on. So I want to make sure that's set. Post username text next. So this is going to be margin 0. It's going to be padding 0. And we're going to have font size is going to be equal to 15px. And we're going to have font weight is equal to 800, except here, I think I do want to bump this up to 16, because it does look a little bit small. So I do want to go ahead and just bump that up to 16 really quick. And then we'll say dot post dash username dash text. And then we're going to have a hover effect on this, so we don't have now. And this will be a text decoration of underline. And we're going to have a cursor pointer. So save that. Now what I want to go ahead and do is let's hop into the post CSS and get rid of some of the CSS that we don't need. So actually, I think we're going to need to go into our post TSX to see what that is. So let's go into post really quick. And inside of post, we want to get rid of post nickname. So let's go to the post CSS and see what we have for post nickname in there. Let's go ahead and look for post nickname. Okay, so it looks like we just have one thing here. So let's go ahead and get rid of post nickname. I don't want the duplicate in there. Save that. And then let's go back into post. And now inside of post, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this nickname here. So let's highlight it, delete it, and space CF to do that. I did fix the prettier issue, so that's nice. So now we should be using tabs again. So that's great. And here we're going to go ahead and say post username. Let's go ahead and import that. And this is going to need the author. So author is going to be equal to our post.author, and do that and save that. It didn't actually bring in post username, so it's going on here. So add the import. I thought I imported it, but I guess not. So let's save this really quick. And let's just go ahead and take a look at footer really quick and see what it's looking like. It should look fairly similar. The text might be a little bit small, might be a little bit larger, but then we're also going to go ahead and have a hover effect. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So now if we hover over it, you can see we have a hover effect. It looks a little bit bigger, which is nice. I don't know why it's so short and why this seems so tall, but it is what it is. It's the right sizing and everything. So that's good to go. So now what we're going to want to do is go ahead and make the actual pop-up. And this is where majority of the work is actually going to lie. It's getting the pop-up working and all of that stuff. So let's go ahead and hop back into Vim. So back in Vim, let's go ahead and open up our Explorer and let's go ahead and make a new component folder. So we're going to call this post profile pop-up. I know it's pretty bad. / post profile pop up.tsx, and let's go ahead and also make a post profile up.css. That way we don't forget, otherwise I will forget. So let's go ahead and import React from React, and we'll go ahead and import the rest of the stuff as we need it. I just want to get stuff going here. So now we'll go ahead and export const, and we're going to go ahead and post profile pop up is a react.function component equal to an arrow function. And then let's go ahead and return. And here we're just going to go ahead and return a div, the class name equal to post profile pop up. So here I am going to go ahead and chill for a sec. We're going to go ahead and set up some other stuff before we really get going, because this is a little bit bigger component and takes a little bit more work. So let's go ahead and say interface, and we're going to say post profile pop up props. I told you it gets worse. So this is going to have an author of user. This is going to have following. Okay, I did spell it right. Following, which is a user array. And we're going to have our followers, which is a user array. And it's going to make more sense why we need this in a little bit. So bear with me here. Let's go ahead and import our user base CA and add the import from user. So let's go ahead and bring this in. So here we'll go ahead and say post profile pop up props. What a mouthful. And here we'll have our author, we'll have our following, and we'll have our followers. All right. Cool. So that's good. So now theoretically we could go ahead and throw this into our other component. So if we save, let's go back to the post username, and inside of our post username, we can actually come down to here and let's go over here to the right. And then we can go ahead and say like display modal, and we go ahead and bring in this post profile pop-up, and we can go ahead and say author is equal to author, just pass that all the way through, and our following will equal to an empty array, and our followers will be equal to an empty array. And this is why we need to go ahead and get those so we can pass them here. And I missed this, and I closed that early, I think. There we go. So now if we go back onto Twitter, we can go ahead and see that it's popping up, except we won't really see anything. So let's just put a little bit of content inside of it really quick, just to get something showing up. So let's go back into our post profile pop-up file. So if we want to go ahead and just like test it, so we can say pop-up. It's going to look really ugly right now, but let's go and hop onto Twitter just to make sure this is working properly. Now if we hover, you can see that it pops up. Now obviously we need to kind of work on it so that it's absolute and all that stuff. It's not really in a good spot, but we'll get that fixed up. So now let's go ahead and do the actual code inside here. And this is where it's going to take a little bit of time just because there's quite a bit of stuff here and there's a lot of styles. So that's what I'm kind of concerned about and why I didn't really do too much more after this, just because I know it's going to take some time. So let's go ahead and say div class name is equal to post profile and top. So it's going to be the top bar of our post profile. It's going to have an image with a class name equal to post profile PFP. So PFP here is a bit bigger, so we'll make it a little bit bigger, but our source is going to be author.profile picture question mark. So if they have a profile picture, it'll be author.profile picture, and then .image URL. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and bring in default PFP, which we need to go ahead and import. So that'll be fun. We'll do that in a second. We'll also have an alt equal to, and we're just going to have backticks, $ curly brace, author.username, and we're going to say apostrophe S and then PFP. And then let's go ahead and close this. If we want to, we could probably do one of these, make it look a little bit nicer. like so, and do that. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in this default PFP. So to do that, we're just going to import it. So we're going to say import and default PFP from // whoops, let's go ahead and do this // we want to go all the way back to our, I think it's assets, I believe, and then go into the, I think we called it defaults dash PFP or something like that, but let's just double check this with space E, go into our assets. I don't remember what we called this. It is called default underscore PFP, and we'll say dot webp. And there we go. Cool. So there is like our PFP stuff. So if they have a profile picture, we'll use it. Otherwise, we will go ahead and use something different. Just use the default. Cool. And then on the top, we also have a button. Now this button is going to be determined whether or not they're following or unfollowing. So we're going to need a little bit of work here, but class name for now is going to be post dash profile dash following dash btn. And then here inside, I'm just going to leave myself a note. Let's leave a note here, and we're going to say determine whether or not the user is following. So for now, we're just going to say following, like they are following. We're going to do some logic. We're going to need to also wrap this whole thing and have like another class. So that's going to be fun, but we'll deal with that in a bit. And then that'll be into this div. So that's going to be like the top section. Next, we're going to have another div with a class name equal to, and this is going to be post dash profile dash nickname dash bar. So this is going to have like the nickname, the verified, and the organization. They have one. So we'll have a P class name equal to, and this will be post dash profile dash nickname. I don't know if post profile is a great name for this, but it is what it is. This will be author dot nickname, like so. And then we're going to have, whoops, curly braces. And this is going to be author dot verified account. So we're going to check to see if they're verified, and we'll say, and if that's the case, we'll go ahead and have our verified icon. Now I think we could probably use verified SVG. Let's hop into post really quick, and let's go ahead and just grab basically this whole thing here. So we want this verified, and we'll come down to here. Let's paste this. Let's go back to our previous file, and then we'll go ahead and paste that in. Now we have a verified icon, and we're going to need to probably find, yep, and then let's go back into post one more time to get the import, and go to the top of post really quick. So we want the verified icon. Here we have it. Let's go over and copy this. I know there's a faster way to do this. I just haven't fully learned Vim yet. And let's go back into our popup. And now we can go to the top of popup. I usually like to do these around the CSS, which reminds me, let's go and import the CSS before I forget. So this is, what do we call this? Post profile pop up.css. That'll be useful later. Cool. So there's our verified. I might have broke something. I'm not sure. Nope, that's fine. Cool. And then we also want to go ahead and say author.organization. And here we'll say and then if that's the case, we'll have an image. So img. And inside the img, let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Inside the img, we'll have a class name equal to, and we'll say post profile. Except that's not what I wanted. I wanted this guy. There we go. Post profile dash organization. We'll have a src, which is equal to our author dot organization. And then it'll be dot image URL. We set this up a little while back. And then alt will equal to, let's do our backtick $ curly brace author dot username, and then apostrophe s, and then organization. And then we can go ahead and close this guy. If I can go ahead and go on the right line here. And honestly, there's probably a better way to format this. Let's see. And I spelled username wrong. Of course I did. Why didn't I? Honestly, I might move this guy down here like that. Let me just reformat this really quick and we'll continue. Okay, that's everything we need to do for the div about the user's nickname. So now we're going to have a p tag with a class name equal to, and this is going to be post dash profile dash user name. And again, this is just going to be the username. So we're going to have an @ and then curly braces author.username. That one's simple enough. Then we're going to have another p tag with a class name equal to, and this is going to be post dash profile dash bio. So it's going to include the bio. So here we're just going to have author.bio. Simple enough. And then we're going to have a div, the class name equal to post profile. And this one is kind of yucky, but we're going to call it following and followers. So this is going to kind of like outline how many followers they have and how many people they are following. We're going to have a p with a class name equal to post and then profile dash following and followers dash text. And inside here, we're going to have a span, maybe a span with a class name equal to, and it's going to be post profile count. We could have called this like followers count or something. It is what it is. But here we're going to have followers dot length. And then this is kind of gross, but the way we have to do this, we're going to have a space character. We're going to say following, and we're going to go ahead and copy this just to save a little bit of time here. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste it in. And we'll go ahead and just do one of those, space CF. And then here, this will be following.length. So following.length. Whoops, this should be followers. I might have done this backwards. Yes, I did. So this one should be following. And this one should be followers. That's an easy fix. So followers.length. And then this is going to say followers. So it's going to basically display how many followers or following they have. And then we have one final thing here to set up. So one more div with a class name equal to, and this is going to be post profile dash followed dash by container. So it also kind of shows information about people that you follow who also follow this person. So this is going to be more stuff that we'll have to set up a little bit later on in like the next episode, once we have more of an idea of what we want to do and we want to make it more reusable. But to start out, we're going to go ahead and say div class name is equal to, and this is going to be post profile dash followed dash by PFP. Yes, so PFPs, and here we're going to have our note to ourselves. And here that's going to say figure out how to stack up to 3 PFPs, and that's because it's going to display up to 3 different profile pictures of people that you follow who also follow these guys. So we're going to do some CSS magic here and get some different information. But again, we have to basically go through our following list, or the person who's logged in's following list, and the author's following list, which we don't have yet, which is why we're kind of holding off on this. And then in here, we're also going to have another p tag. So p class name equal to post profile and this dash followed dash by and then users. So it's going to go ahead and show the users names that we followed and are following this person. So this will be followed by, and we're going to have more information here. And what we're going to need to go and do, and let's leave ourselves another note, is we need to go ahead and map the first 3 user names and then the count after the first 3. So if you follow like 6 people, it'll say the first 3 and then 3 others. Okay, save that. That should be good to go. So like I said, it's just quite a bit of code here. Nothing too crazy. And if we actually go back onto Twitter, we're not going to see too many fireworks. It's actually going to look quite ugly, but we can kind of see our baseline. So let's go and hop onto Twitter before we actually start doing some styling. And then after the styling, that'll kind of wrap up the episode, just because I knew this would be a little bit of a longer one. So now if we go ahead and just refresh just to be safe here, if we go and hover over, you can see there's a massive thing that pops up. You can see that it has the bio, who they're following, some other stuff, and whenever we go off of it, it closes out. Now what we want to go ahead and do is make this look a lot prettier, make this look better. And the next episode will come through, add the logic with the followers and some other stuff as well, and hopefully try to make it reusable. That way, whenever it's like a repost and you see like so-and-so reposted, we can also reuse it there. So let's hop back into Vim again. Cool. So let's go into the CSS for this file. So now in the CSS, let's go and just get to work here. So we say .post profile dash pop up. So it's going to kind of define how big the pop-up is and also kind of being able to actually see it and whatnot. So we're going to say width is 250 pixels. This one is a guesstimate because I couldn't get it perfectly because it goes away whenever you try to click on the element. It is what it is. The height is going to be fit content. So fit dash content, and that just depends on how long the bio is and stuff like that. Padding, we'll put 12px here. We'll put a margin of 0 on. That way it just kind of resets everything. Border none, because we don't actually want a border. However, we are going to have a border dash radius of 12px. We're going to make sure I have a background color because as you saw, it's kind of see-through. So just put that as white. And we're going to have a box shadow. So we'll say box dash shadow. Now the box shadow is kind of being finicky. So hopefully it works out, but this is going to be RGBA, and this is going to be 0.2. So a gray color is going to be 0px, 5px, 15px. So 15px again. This part was acting kind of finicky. Hopefully we get it to work. Where this has z index of 100. This is arbitrary. Put whatever you want. Now it's important that we put position as absolute. That way we can put exactly what we want. And here is already kind of at the top of what we want, but we do want to say left negative 125 px, and I'll show you guys what that's doing. So let me go ahead and save this. Let's go back onto Twitter and I'll show you guys what's going on here. So now whenever we have it as at position absolute with left negative 125, it's going to be right in the center of this. And this, it doesn't look great right now, but don't worry, we'll fix it up. We'll make it look a lot better. So let's go back into Vim, get to work again. So now after we have this guy, let's go ahead and do the top. So post profile top. I'm going to try not to hop into the web browser on and off here. I'm just going to go ahead and try to get most of this done, and we'll take a look at the end. So with 100%, we'll have our height as fit dash content. It will have a display of flex because we want it side by side. We'll have a justify dash content, and this is going to go ahead and be space between. And then we'll go ahead and have align items to flex start. And finally, we're going to have a margin on the bottom of this. The margin bottom of about 8px. Whoops, fix this, 8px. Cool. So that would kind of be the top container. So then inside the top, we're going to have the profile picture as well as the following button. So say post and then profile dash PFP. Like I mentioned, this profile picture is a little bit bigger, so I went with width 70. Again, I couldn't get the exact measurements here, but this is what looked good to me. And height 70px, like that. Have a border radius, whoops, maybe. Have a border radius of 100% because it's a circle. And now I know that they have square ones. I don't really understand how that works. I'm just going to ignore them. We'll have a border none. And then finally, we'll have object dash fit, and this is going to be cover. So that'll be the profile picture. Now I'll have a dot post and then profile dash following btn. We'll have to make an unfollow button as well. But for now, this is what we're going to have. So width, I came in about 110px. This again was just experimenting. Height about 30px, looked pretty good. We'll have a border dash radius of 15px. We're going to have a border of 1px solid, and this will be black. That looked good. I have a background color of white and a font size 16px, looked pretty good. And then it's also pretty thick, so font weight of 800. On top of that, we're also going to have a hover effect on this. It's going to turn red. It's going to say like unfollow. We haven't done the logic to make it say unfollow yet. We'll get to that eventually. So post profile dash and then following / btn. Here we're going to have a border of 1 pixel solid red. We're going to have background dash color of RGBA. We're going to max out the red. So 255, 0, 0, and we'll say like 0.2. Looks pretty nice. We're going to have a cursor, pointer, and finally we'll have a color of red. Now we'll go ahead and pause here because I forgot the hover. There we go. Let's go back into Footer. Now we hover over this, following. And honestly, I might need to tweak. I don't know why this is slightly off. It might be because of the fact that I was using my other monitor. So I might tweak this. And that's kind of the issue with absolute. So 250. So we might say like negative 100. Just to kind of tweak that a little bit. So that looks a little bit better. I kind of like that more. So we'll do negative 100 there. Cool. So that's how that's supposed to look. Now we need to do a little bit more work kind of on this part here and obviously this stuff. So let's go and keep working here. So let's go back to the bottom of this. So let's deal with the nickname bar, the nickname and some other stuff. So we'll say dot post profile dash, and then this will be nickname bar. So it's just another container guy here. So this will go ahead and just say width will be fit content. The height will be fit dash content. We're going to go ahead and have display flex. We're going to justify content flex start. And we'll go ahead and align our items in the center. And finally, we're going to have a column gap of 6px, which is about what we use for the other one that we worked on. I haven't really gotten to test this one that well, just because I don't have any verified users and stuff, which is really what it'd be working with. I'm just too lazy to set up a verified user, so it is what it is. Next we post profile. This will be dash nickname, the actual nickname itself. So our font weight will be 800. Whoops, 800. Our font size would be about 16. Again, this is the guesstimate of margin 0 and a padding of 0. So that's just the nickname itself. And then we're going to need to go ahead and do a hover. So dot post dash profile dash nickname hover. So this also has a cursor, a pointer, and it also has a text decoration of underline. And then we need to do the organization profile picture, the organization picture. So let's say dot post dash profile dash organization. Again, we don't have an organization to actually test this. We could upload one, but it's getting pretty late. I don't want to go through all of the hassle, unfortunately. But this guy will say width 20px. We'll say height is 20px. And then object dash fit we cover, and this is exactly how we do the organization and the other page, so it should be fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the username and bio before we take a look at anything else here. Let's go ahead and say dot and then post profile dash username. This one's pretty simple. So I have a margin 0, padding 0. I need a new keyboard, I guess, because I am not double hitting those. Font size will be 15px, slightly smaller. Font weight will be 400. So again, a little bit thinner. Color will be pound, and this is going to be 657786. So it's going to be like the gray color. And margin dash bottom on this guy will be 8px. So just going to get a little bit of space on the bottom to breathe. Next we'll have post dash profile dash bio. This can be very similar. So margin 0, reset the margin, reset the padding to 0. Font size will also be 15px. Our font, if I could type, dash weight will be thin as well to 400px or 400 whatever. Color is going to be the same color as, I actually messed up the bio. We don't want color. We do want font size, and font weight is actually slightly bigger at 500. And then we are going to have a margin bottom of 8px. Okay, so let's just go ahead and take a peek at what Twitter is looking like now. We got a little bit more set up. So now if we hover over, you can see we kind of have this nice and formatted. Now we need to go ahead and set up these guys, and then this, you're not going to be able to see much, but eventually it's going to be like a flex box that has like profile pictures on the side, and it's kind of out, and we might end up making this slightly bigger. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell what size it actually is on the browser, but I thought that the spacing in between these guys looked pretty good and the size of the button looked pretty good. So it is what it is. But let's go ahead and hop back into Vim and kind of try to wrap this up here. We're almost done. So now we just need to go ahead and finish up the following stuff. So .post dash profile dash following and followers. So this will be width 100%. We'll go ahead and take up the whole space of this guy. Our height will be fit-content. We're going to have a margin set to 0. So reset that because we're going to have text in it. Padding, will be 0 as well. That's fine. Display will be flex because we're going to set the text side by side. We're going to justify content as a flex start. That's fine. And we'll align our items in the center. It shouldn't really matter because we're just doing fit content here, but it is what it is. We'll have a column gap of 12px just to give us some space. We'll also give us some space on the bottom with margin bottom of 8px. So that's simple enough. Now let's do the text. So this will be dot post profile dash following dash followers dash text, and inside here we'll have a font size even a little bit smaller at 14px. Will also be pretty light, so font weight will be 400, and then we'll have a color. Once again, we'll do the gray color, so pound this will be 6577 and then 86, and then this will be a margin of 0 and a padding, maybe padding of 0. And then we need a hover effect on this, so dot post profile dash following follower, and this should be S with followers. So let's go ahead and fix that as well before I forget about it and it doesn't work. Followers, there we go. Fix this, and this is going to be hover. So this is going to have a cursor, a pointer, and this is going to have a text decoration of underline. If I could type. Cool. So there's that. So we just have a little bit left here. So now we'll just go ahead and do like the profile count and a couple other things. So dot and then post dash profile count. So this is basically just like thicker. So font weight will be 800. We also going to go ahead and set the color of this one to black, so it's going to stick out a little bit more. Let's say dot post profile dash followed dash by users. Again, this is going to be something we set up a little bit later on, but it's still nice to kind of have it set up somewhat. Font size will be 13px. We're going to have font weight is going to be 400. We're going to have color. Once again, it's going to be that gray color. So pound 657786. And then here our margin will be 0 and our padding will be 0. And then finally, this also has a hover effect. So dot post dash profile dash followed by, and then users colon hover. Here, we're going to go ahead and once again have our cursor, the pointer, and have our text and decoration be underlined. Now, assuming that I don't have to go ahead and go through and debug anything, everything should be set up and good to go here. So let's go ahead and hop back onto Twitter one last time. So now if we hover over, you should see that we have our following, followers, And right now it's just set to 0 because we're not even passing anything, but I don't know that they really have any following and followers. We might have to set some stuff up. We have our bio here, and then we have our followed by. I think these should have hover effects, so we might have messed something up there. We might want to go ahead and take a look at what's going on with this, but this is hovering properly. Let's hop on to Vim and fix that one thing. So this should be dash text here, so that's where I went wrong, and I typoed anyway, followers dash text. Save that, and let's wrap this up. Let's hop back onto Twitter one last time. So hover. There we go. Looks a lot better, right? Cool. So that's going to go ahead and just be it for this episode. Next episode, we'll come back through and kind of add some of the logic to actually grab the followers, be able to navigate and do some of that other stuff. So as always, if you guys did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. It definitely helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, guys, this has been Ethan the Coder. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you guys in the next episode.